How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another Flesh and Blood video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today, we are talking about our, I was going to say top 5, maybe the bottom 5. We're going to talk about the 5 worst cards in Flesh and Blood, and today I am joined by Ian Kenderdine, someone who has been on the channel multiple times. I will let him properly introduce himself, but I will say, because he might not mention this, he's probably one of the people who have played the most Flesh and Blood in the world, I would say. I think he's definitely up there as someone who's played the most games of Flesh and Blood, so I think his opinion is relevant in this discussion. So go ahead and take it away, Ian. I'll let you shout out your stuff.
Thanks, Kellen. Of course, Ian here from Right Time Gaming, as well as, you may know me as a co-host of Radio Reflex podcast with Alan, or if you're the sort of person that trolls through hours and hours of footage, you may have heard me do commentary on LSS videos at the Calling Auckland, as well as the developer showdown and stuff like that. But yeah, no, as Colin said, I've been playing the game since actually before day one. I played at the world premiere, which was a couple of months before the release of the first set, and been playing ever since. Not necessarily at a high level, but I was the fifth person to get to 1,000 XP, and that is by sheer amount of play, not necessarily high competitive play. So yes, I have put in a number of hours with many of these cards.
Yeah. So the way this video is going to work is that we're just going to alternate. So I said it was a top 5 or bottom 5 or however you want to phrase it. But Ian and
there's a few clumps.
Yeah, there's some clumps. Ian and I are basically going to be each sharing our own 5. So there will be between 5 and 10 cards that we talk about today. Basically, there might be some overlap. So I think that would be just a fun way to do it. And I'm going to start it off. And I have a strong feeling that this card in particular, this is actually a group of cards. And we're not going to do this for all of them. But I feel that you need to do that with this one, because otherwise this would just be 3 of the 5. And it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair, because these cards are god awful. And as a Ranger player myself, I would love for them to not be god awful, but they are god awful. And the cards we are talking about, or that I'm talking about, are the trap cards. Were these cards on your list, Ian?
Absolutely. I did bundle these together. They're like, I think Pitfall Trap, I don't mind. I don't mind as much, but because.
It's still so bad. It's still so bad.
It's still tough. It is kind of funny to play that in Ice Lexi, though, if you can catch them with a frostbite, and then they just they don't have the extra resources to pay, so they take damage. But yeah, traps. The thing about LSS is they often talk about cards getting released in a set that aren't actually necessarily good in that set, but will become good in future sets. So maybe in Everfest we might get like a Trap Master Ranger or something. But,
oh god,
so
the worst Ranger of all time, the Trap Master Ranger. So let me read these cards off for folks who don't know. So Tripwire Trap. This is the red one. There is one of each color, right? So these cards don't have a full cycle of red, yellow, blue. There's just one of each color. And they get progressively worse, I would say, just because. So okay, let me say what they are. So they're fairly unique. They are 0 cost cards. All 3 of them cost 0 to play. They are all defense reaction subtype traps. So they're defense reaction traps. Traps can only be played from Arsenal. And then the Tripwire Trap says, hit effects don't trigger this chain link unless the attacking hero pays 1. The Pitfall Trap says, deal 2 damage to the attacking hero unless they pay 2, and it only blocks for 3. So the Tripwire blocks for 4, Pitfall blocks for 3, and then Rock Slide blocks for a measly 2 and says, target attack gains -2 unless the attacking hero pays 1 resource. And these cards are so cumbersome to wield. They are so awkward. They basically, the way I think about it, right? They basically take like turn and a half, 2 turns to use, because the way Flesh and Blood works is you draw up at the end of your turn, not at the start of your turn. So if you draw into a tripwire trap at the end of your turn, right, you draw into it, it is sitting in your hand, useless for an entire turn, because you cannot play it on your opponent's turn, because you can only play it from your arsenal unless you have some weird arsenal shenanigans. So you have
I've
to
heard
just
people go, oh yeah, but you can play take cover and then reload a trap in. But like if you've done that, you've ended up with most likely not having an arrow to be able to send off the next turn.
And you wasted like so what if that happens, right? So what if you do take cover as a defense reaction, you block, so you block that whole attack out, and then they don't attack anymore, and then you just have a tripwire trap in your arsenal and you can't use it at all until they attack with it.
I mean, ideally you could, like the theory is that you play take cover, reload the trap, and then you can play the trap straight away. But then you're probably overblocking anyway, and you probably could have just blocked with an arrow from like it just the upside of them is not nearly good enough for the setup it takes.
Well,
every person I've been saying this ever since I saw these, and I don't know. I don't know if this will ever be the case, but I have a fix for traps, or at least I think I have a fix for traps, and maybe it's too good, maybe it's not good enough. But what I feel like they should have been was like say like the plunder runs and stuff like that, where you have a first effect and then you have an effect if you play it from your arsenal. And so what I would have liked to have seen traps be is defense reactions that you get the straight stat defense from them if you play them from hand, so you just get the 3, the 2, or the 4 block, but you don't get the trap effect. But if you play them from arsenal, you get the bonus of the effect of the trap. Because that way, I feel like, they don't feel bad when you pull them up at the end of it at the end of a turn, and that in your hand, they're not just stuck there as cards that you can't do anything with. You can still block with them. You're not going to get full advantage. And again, we even see it in other defense reactions like unmovables, where you get a bonus if it's from your arsenal, but at least you can still play it from your hand if you have to. And I think that's I mean, I don't know if they would have been much more playable that way.
I was gonna say, like,
to be fair, you're not running a lot of defense reactions in a ranger deck. But yeah, like just as they stand, they're just too much setup for very little.
I mean, like, even
upside.
The way I like to think about it too is like, even if they didn't have the taxing clause, like even if the effects happened 100% of the time, I don't think anyone would play with them. Like even if they did what they did 100% of the time, I don't think anyone would play with them. So they're like,
I think you would have played more. I think you would have played more in sealed and stuff. With them. But
and these are oh man, like, so they're like doubly bad, right? And not only that,
rares, aren't they?
They're rares. They're rares from Crucible of War. And the thing is the defense gets progressively worse too. So by the time you get to the blue pitch rock slide trap, it blocks for 2. So now you're not even blocking well. It's hard to play, and the effect isn't that good. And your opponent can negate the effect by paying resources.
And you're running blue and ranger, which you barely ever want to do anyway.
Oh, it's so the traps are bad. I think they're some of the worst cards in the game. Maybe they'll get better, like Ian said, but I'm
as I said, like if we get like a trap, like for instance, if we get like a trap master, character where maybe they have the ability that says, you can play traps from hand, or they have a weapon that isn't necessarily, like maybe they have a one-handed weapon, and on the other hand, you're allowed to place a trap down or something, like something. But yeah, I can't see them being good. Like it's cutesy, and I feel like they were trying to be silver ballsy with them, but like I don't think Ranger has enough. Ranger has enough to do that and be keep going with what they're trying to do with it. When you have to load a card the next turn to fire your weapon, they're just too expensive and too hard to set up.
Yeah, they suck. They suck. All right, so that was my first pick. Ian, would you like to talk about your first pick or maybe second pick because
Yep.
this was technically on both of our lists.
Sure. So my so I'll tick off traps there. My next pick is a card that it just I kind of understand why it was made, but I've never seen a deck that it works in. It's just not worth it. I know for a little while some ninjas were looking at it, but my card is Rusted Relic.
Oh, okay.
Which is a super rare, I believe.
Yep.
From Arcane Rising, blue zero pitch item, so no defense, and all it gives you is Arcane Barrier 1. Admittedly, if you can get it into the field, it does give you Arcane Barrier 1 for the rest of the game. So but just the setup for it, like, you have to have Go Again, or you have to have blocked out with 3 cards to put into play. And if you're blocking out with 3 cards, again, you're probably not against, really against that. Something that's probably coming in with a lot of Arcane Barrier. It's only Arcane Barrier for 1. So it does very little. It takes a lot to set up. It doesn't block. So it can make for awkward hands if it doesn't show up early. It's just absolutely a dead blue that doesn't block. Which there's many other blues that don't block that are far more relevant. And I just don't think an extra Arcane Barrier. Like, I don't think you can run this card and not run any Arcane Barrier because you can't guarantee when it's going to show up in the game. And so if you're running any Arcane Barrier, I really don't think an extra 1 off a card that takes so much to set up is worth it in the long run.
So I want to add a couple things onto this. This card in particular is not on my list, but we'll talk about that in a second. I just want to say that Rusted Relic was an early Flesh and Blood. I don't know if you want to call it a meme for my channel, because when I was first opening Arcane Rising when the set first came out, I kept opening Rusted Relics. I have so many first edition Rusted Relics and foil Rusted Relics. Like, I just kept opening them. Every single box had a Rusted Relics. It was ridiculous. I think I had like 12 or something. So yeah, I very much know Rusted Relic, and even back then I was like, this card sucks. This card sucks.
Yeah, I got really lucky because like one of the card shops here, when Arcane Rising first went out of print, they did this blanket. We'll pay $5 for any supers, 10 for X and X. And I was like, any supers?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I just realized we were doing our worst of, so I needed to switch to my worst camera. It wasn't that I didn't check the battery on my new camera at all.
Yep, that's the reason.
Anyway, Rusted Relic.
Rusted Relic's
not a great card. That is my choice.
So yeah, Rusted Relic was interesting because it was one that I was considering, but I found 2 cards that they might not be. I thought Rusted Relic was better, but honestly, I think they should all go together. So I actually lumped these cards together. So we'll talk about my next pick because it's actually 2 cards, but I lumped them together, and they are along the same vein as Rusted Relic. The first one is Ether Sync, which is a mechanologist item. Ether Sync, yep. I think, is worse because Rusted Relic costs 0 to play and gives you a static Arcane Barrier 1. Ether Sync costs you 1 to play. It only pitches for 2. Comes into play with a Steam counter, has action. If there's no Steam counters on it, you can put a Steam counter on it. Oh, cool. So you can charge it up to a maximum of 1. And then for instant, remove the Steam counter to gain Arcane Barrier 2 until end of turn. So you have to invest a resource, this card, which only pitches for 2, to get Arcane Barrier 2 for only 1 turn. And to use it again, you have to use more resources. This card is...
You still have to pay for the Arcane Barrier too, right?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't prevent it. So yeah. Ether Sync is terrible. Like, it's so bad for the same reasons that Rusted Relic is bad, but I think like more because you have to pay resources to even do it. And just having these cards with like Arcane Barrier in your deck is so bad because you don't know when you're going to draw them. So like that's not when you want the arcane barrier. You want the arcane barrier when your wizard opponent's blasting you in the face for like a crap load of damage, not just like randomly draw it off the top and hope you get there and then waste your turn playing it. It's so bad. And then so the other one is Talisman of Dowsing, which is at least Talisman of Dowsing. I will say Talisman of Dowsing has go again at least, but Talisman of Dowsing is also yellow pitch. Cost 0, has go again, and then it has Spell Void 1, which means you can basically destroy it and prevent 1 arcane damage. So it's a 1-use, prevent 1 arcane damage, takes up an entire slot in your deck, doesn't block otherwise, and pitches for yellow. These 3 cards are so bad. Like, I would never play any of these cards in any format. Like, limited, constructed, commoner, like... I would never play these cards in any format. They're that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the go again on Talisman, because what set did that come out of?
It's in Monarch.
Yeah, so for the upside on that, like, and only in sealed or maybe draft, is if you were playing Chain and you just wanted a non-attack. You just wanted to pump up a Riftbind, basically.
But even then, man, like
I'm not saying that it's a great reason to do it. But I'm like, you said you'd never play them. I like it's a very specific deck.
I would only play this if I had to play a Cracked Bauble. And I had to play this card instead of the Cracked Bauble. That's the only time. That's the only time I would play it. Same with the other ones, honestly. Ether Sync and at least the Rusted Relic pitches for 3, so it's like better than a Cracked Bauble at least.
Yeah, well, Ether Sync is interesting because that brings me to my next one.
Go for it.
So my next one is the only character that's on my list.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I'm loath to say it's the worst card because I know there's good friends of mine that this is their pet deck, this is their thing, but Data Doll.
Yeah.
Data Doll is just bad. Like, there's no way to. I mean, I've played Data Doll. I've won some games with Data Doll. I've lost a lot of games with Data Doll. It's a card that was very. It wasn't great when it came out, and just as the sets have gone forward and the new heroes have come out, with each new hero that has come out, or each new set, it's just got progressively harder to play that deck without getting anything for it. Like, it was hard enough when it was just Crucible. The three card size. So again, if you don't know what Data Doll is, it's a young hero from Crucible that has a very cool ability where basically whenever you boost, if you boost a Mechanologist item off the boost, you can bring it into play for free. So that's great. And this is where you win games with a Data Doll, is if you get a good run of boosting in items and setting it up. It can actually be really fun. It can be really good. It's a fun deck to play. But the problem being is, ever since then, I mean, it was a nightmare to play against any brute player that had Intimidate, because when you start with only 3 cards, and that just getting 1 Intimidate means you only have 2 cards, and so it means you're going to block and have nothing to do, or only have 1 card to pay, and then just things like Frostbite, Killer. When you only have 3. With you only have 3 cards, you can't block to stop it, or if you block to stop it, you can't do anything. But then if you get Frostbites, you very rarely have enough resources to do anything. So it's just, it's really tough. It's very interesting seeing. We've just seen Velda Brightaxe come out, right?
Oh yeah,
in Everfest, and she is the first young hero with 21 life.
Yeah. Now,
this is a thing that like, I don't know if Darnadol was so busted with 4 cards.
Yeah,
I can't see it. I just don't know if I'm not seeing how busted it could be with the extra card. But if perhaps it was 3 hand size, but you started with 25 life, that at least gives you a little bit of a buffer or time to set up. But when you're playing against a brute or something on turn 1 and they intimidate 2 cards out of your and this happens a lot in blitz, right? If a blitz a brute goes barraging beat down, any attack, you already only have 1 card in hand, so all the barraging bonuses is going to hit, and you can only block with 1 card. And also the mechanologist equipment isn't a fridge. There's not it's got some sync in it that you can block some damage, but not enough to warrant having 1 less. You just can't go, I'm taking a turn off to hold on to my 3 cards and block with my equipment, because you can't even do enough. Even holding it, doing that and sucking up a full hit. There's very little that a 3 card hand out of Darnadol. There's not an explosive turn that can make. Not that is going to do as much damage as just not blocking. So yeah, unfortunately, I love it. I love the people that put the time and commitment into playing it. But yeah, it's the hands down the worst hero. And I figured if we were doing a worst of, I thought we should at least have a worst hero on there. So so Darnadol is my favorite.
Darnadol is pretty terrible.
In my top line.
All right, so I don't blame you for putting Darnadol on there. Maybe someday she'll get a cool specialization that's super busted that'll make her good, but until then, she's pretty trash.
Hey, have I ever told you about the card I really want for Darnadol?
What was it like a? So when you were talking, I was like, it would be cool for Darnadol to have an item that's like a supercomputer chip that makes her intellect 5 or something, so. No,
I've got my absolute what I'd love for Darnadol is a mechanologist item that's self-destruct button.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Where it's destroy this card and destroy all mechanologist items and all equipment on your side of the field. Deal that much damage to both players.
That seems sweet.
So the idea is that you just spam out, you put in your terrible items like the what was it?
Ether Sync.
Ether Sync and stuff like that. And so you're just right, so I'm just gonna boost it and get out as many items as possible, and then I'm just gonna hit the button and hope that I've got and have 1 sigil in your arsenal to hopefully heal yourself more to have just more damage than your opponent.
Yeah. All right. So we'll talk about my next card. So my next card is also from Crucible of War. This one's actually a Guardian card. This one is Blessing of Serenity. So Blessing of Serenity is a Guardian instant. The red pitch version costs 0. They all cost 0. And it says, the next time your hero would be dealt damage this turn, prevent 3 of that source would deal. Now you might be thinking, oh, it's versatile. It can prevent damage. No. It only prevents physical weapon, specifically the attack damage, right? And this is the red pitch version, which means this is the best it gets. The yellow only prevents 2, and the blue only prevents 1. And if you're running Guardian, you probably want to run a lot of blues. Why the hell would you run a blue pitch card that blocks for 0 that has the maximum upside of preventing 1 physical damage? This card is useless on all levels, and even the red pitch version, which you likely wouldn't run in Guardian anyway, is still only blocking 3, and all Guardian cards block for 3 anyway. So the only advantage that you can get out of this card is maybe preventing some dominate damage. That's literally it. And outside of that, it is completely useless. And if you're playing Guardian, you probably have some defense reactions anyway, which help you with the dominate. So this card's super useless. I think I look at this card, I'm like, this is beautiful art, this sucks. Then just move on. So yes, this is one of the cards that I just had to pick. Not only is it bad, but it's particularly bad in Guardian. Because like even the red one just doesn't.
And there's just generic cards that do better stuff for you.
Yeah, like Sigil of Solace, red just is literally better in every single way. So yep, Blessing of Serenity is one of my picks, and what's this another card that I don't ever see myself playing in any format ever. Like I can't imagine ever playing this one. So yep, that's that Blessing of Serenity.
It's interesting that you say. It's interesting that you've said that it's these cards are the worst that you never see you play, because my next card, it hurts me to say, and it hurts me to do this because I have a really nice alt art encased version of this card here, and it is the worst weapon in the game. And it is Hexagore.
Yeah.
And as a brute main, I want this card to be so good. I really do. But just this, like, it's not good enough. It's too slow to get set up in Blitz. By the time you set it up, you get into this really awkward phase. Like, the problem is with it is you can't just set it up and go, all right, cool, now I can swing for 6 and not take the blood debt. If that's all you're doing, you're still then taking all the blood debt, like, because it doesn't turn off blood debt.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if it somehow turned off blood debt or something would be good. But like, you have to. So here it is. It's once per turn action. 2 swings for 6. Whenever you attack with Hexagore, it deals damage to you equal to 6 minus the number of cards with blood debt in your banished zone. So this is the problem. So you're either if you swing with it early, you're taking 6 damage because you don't have the blood debt. If you swing with it late and you haven't turned off your blood debt, you're just taking all the blood debt that's already in your graveyard. And then it's only good late game once you've got 6 in your banished zone, and you've already got a way to turn off blood debt that turn. So sure, if you've gone it's great if you can go like Dread Scream it into a Hexagore, but it just means that your weapon is offline for so much of the game, and especially like if in Levia, like a lot of the time you want to block with a few cards, set up your graveyard, and then just like swing with the club or swing with the claws to get you to the next turn where you have your setup. And so this it takes away the ability to swing with, like, to block out your hand and still swing back with your weapon without then also taking more damage. So yeah, it looks good on paper, and I know every brute player has tried to work out a way to make it work. But yeah, just for the setup, and when you think of Romping Club, for 2 swings for 4, possibly swings for 5, if you've discarded this turn with no downside, and you can block out 3 cards, hold a yellow, swing back for 4, take no damage from your own attack. Yeah, it's just not good enough. It's too hard. Maybe later on, we'll get a hero that can use it better. But at the moment with Levia, yeah, it's the worst weapon. Again, as we said, there are definitely other cards that are worse than we've seen. But like I felt like I wanted to put the worst, since we were doing a worst, I wanted to put the worst weapon and the worst character. So there you have it. That is that. Yep.
I don't disagree. It is pretty terrible. Okay, so my next card is also, well, it's not literally unplayable like a lot of the other ones that we're talking about. Like a lot of the other ones I talked about, like the Ether Sink and the traps and the Blessing of Serenity. I think they're like actually kind of unplayable. This one's not literally unplayable, but I think it's just really, really bad. And I don't think I would ever play it unless I had to, once again, and only in like limited and draft. So it's Yinti Yanti. So Yinti Yanti is a card from Monarch. It is a 0-cost card, blocks for 2, attacks for 3, and it says, while Yinti Yanti is attacking and you control an aura, it has +1. While Yinti Yanti is defending and you control an aura, it has +1 defense. So the best case scenario for Yinti Yanti is that it becomes a card that already exists, that it's also common, Wounding Blow. It just becomes a Wounding Blow if you have an aura. And I know people might be like, oh, what if you play it in like a Minnowism deck? What Minnowism deck runs a ton of auras to pump this up? It's just a 0-cost 3 attack card that sucks. Like, I don't see any use case for Yinti Yanti. And the best
Yinti
case
Yanti
is that it becomes a Wounding Blow. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I will defend it a little bit. Is that Yinti Yanti is definitely a sealed draft card for the set that it was released in, because it came out in Monarch, correct?
It was in Monarch, yeah. So I mean, you could like with Chain, like you can get it with like
Chain. With both Chain and Prism.
Yeah.
You do constantly have auras on the table, and yeah, it literally was a generic that just helps you out because you can pick it late. It doesn't affect your team. Especially in Chain, you're always going to have an aura out because Soul Shackles are auras. You're right though. Like if I wanted a card that did that and I was looking in Classic Constructed, I would go for the Wounding Blow. But yeah, I will defend it to say that I feel like that card was directly made for Monarch Sealed / draft.
I will say I've played a bunch
and
of...
that's when it was the best, because it hasn't been good since.
I will say I have played a good amount of Monarch Sealed and Draft, and I've literally never played Yinti Yanti. There's like always something better to play, whether it's like either a light or shadow card, or if it's like just literally anything else.
Yeah, I think it's more there. It's more there. It's a card that you can pick late if you've been cut off your picks in draft more so than Seal.
So like,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Like,
again, I'm not saying it's a great card. I'm not going as far as to say that. But like, I understand what it was made for. But
I get it. But the fact that it's literally just a strictly worse Wounding Blow, which is a fine card in limited, right? Wounding Blow's all right, but it's just like worse Wounding Blow is so like, ugh. It's so,
yeah,
it's
but
so
these
gross.
are the cards. These are the cards we need if we ever start playing Singleton, right?
Yinti Yanti. Oh god, I don't think I'd ever play Yinti Yanti even then. Like, I was trying to think of ways like what would make this card better if it had a base attack of 1 higher and then got pumped up if you had an aura. So if it was had a base attack of 4 for the red and then became a 5, then I could see like reasons to play it. Like, it's coming in for 5 for 0. That's not the worst, but as it is, it's on my list. I looked through every single card and I'm like, God, Yinti Yanti sucks. There's some other cards too that I wanted to pick over this. There's a lot of 3-cost 6 attack cards that 3-cost 6 attack is just really bad rate, and I'm just like, these are bad, but at least I could see myself maybe playing them if I had to, like in a pinch, but I don't think I would play.
As a brute player, I understand like there is that stuff that like for things like Commoner and stuff like that, or KO and stuff like that, where it's just about the stat and the ability. It doesn't need to be a class card. But I get you.
So yeah, that's my is this my 4th pick? I think it's my 4th pick.
Right. So I've got 1 left, haven't I? Yes, I have 1 left, and oh my god. So this isn't actually. It's probably not. It's not a terrible card. I want to go out there and like people are going to be like, oh no, it works. The reason I call this the worst card is this is the card in all of Flesh and Blood that irritates me the most.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I've ranted to you about it in the past. So let the rest of the internet know my loathing for this card. And it is a card that was in the Ira demo deck. And this is where, and this is probably where it stems from why I'm so annoyed with it, because I'm pretty sure I may have lost some games at the World Premiere because of it. And that card is Lunging Press. And people were like, "Oh, Lunging Press isn't too bad. It's blue. It's a zero cost blue. Defense for 2. Gives attack action card +1." And there is where I have a problem with it, because the artwork on Lunging Press. Now, if you're doing some editing, you should put up Lunging Press here, so I can.
All the cards will have already been up. So yeah.
Excellent. So now we can see Lunging Press here. It is a trident with a shield. Nobody else in frame. No people in frame. Why doesn't this buff weapons? The move is Lunging Press, where you lunge with a weapon. The artwork is a weapon lunging into a shield, and yet it doesn't pump a weapon. And again, as I said, it's probably some PTSD from the premiere where I tried to get a sneaky win with Edge of Autumn and pump it up with Lunging Press, only to be told I can't do that. But yeah, this artwork to ability, yeah. So this is the card that I feel is the worst designed aesthetically for me. Not that it's bad art. I'm not saying that. There's another card in Welcome to Wraith that I don't like the artwork for. We're not going to get into that.
I think I know which one it is too.
just the fact that this is a weapon. It is the name is referencing what you do with a weapon, and yet you can't use it on a weapon. And that's probably the least ranty I've been about. Yeah. I held back. You've heard me go on about it before, but yes. So there you have it. That's my loathing of Lunging Press.
Yeah, I actually I like Lunging Press. Like, I play it in decks. They're very specific decks, but I play it every now and then. It's really good in Ninja, obviously. I play it in.
How much better decks. It would be if you play it on your Kodachi?
Well, yeah, that's true. My final card is kind of a funny one. It's from Tales of Aria, and it is a card that I have a nickname for. In fact, Ian is wearing one right now. It is Ian's hat, also known as Ragamuffins Hat. So yes, Ragamuffins Hat is on my top 5, bottom 5 worst cards. And this one had a couple different options. I was going between Ragamuffins Hat and some other ones. I'm gonna hold you right there. I just need to step away. Feel free to continue talking to the people, but I just need to step away. I'll be right back. Okay. So, Ragamuffins Hat is a generic equipment. It is a headpiece. It says, instant, destroy Ragamuffins Hat, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top or bottom of your deck. And you can be like, oh, that's cool, right? So you can destroy it and then get some little bit of card selection. No. You can only activate this if you have one card in your hand. So the only case this is good is if you have a Hail Mary situation where you are playing, well, there you go. Look at that. That it is Ian's hat, as you can see. We have the Ragamuffins Hat cosplay. Now you just need you need his like robes with like the necklace.
I just want to go. This is the first time it's been on the internet. I want to say a big thank you to Lynette from Blackjack Tavern. She's our resident cosplayer here in New Zealand, who is a big Ranger fan, and she sent me this for Christmas. Yeah, no, I just thought this seemed like the perfect time to bring it out.
I think it is too. By the way, this was not planned at all. Ian did not know that I chose Ragamuffins Hat. So yes, Ragamuffins Hat. Even in limited and like draft and sealed. I've actually played this, and it was fine. Like that was the best case I've ever had this. I played it and I got a card that was fine. So this card, the fact that you can only activate it if you have one card in your hand, makes it so bad. It makes it so limited. The use cases for this are maybe if you have no cards in arsenal, one card in hand, maybe you can crack this and get a card that blocks for more if your opponent is attacking you. Maybe you can crack this and get a card that you can play that has a 0 cost. And then maybe if you have a card in arsenal and you have a red pitch card in hand, you can crack this and maybe get like a blue pitch card. Those are the cases, and those cases are very all lackluster, and you might just whiff, and you're wasting an entire headpiece. So even in like limited, this is a card that I did not want to see. I would run it if I had to, but yeah. So yeah, there were other options for the Ian's hat, but no, I just had to go with it. I had to go with it. I couldn't not go with it. So, with that said, I would like to know everyone's opinions in the comment section down below. What are your top 5, bottom 5 worst Flesh and Blood cards for whatever reason? Maybe just one card that you particularly hate, like how Ian hates lunging press. I think that's gonna probably wrap that up. Ian, if you'd like to shout out all of your stuff, socials, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, yeah, go for it, man.
Cool. Yeah. So you can find me at Right Time Gaming on Facebook and on YouTube. Also check out Razor Reflex or Ian vs. Alan Razor Reflex podcast. That's on Facebook and YouTube as well. The Radio Reflex. Radio Reflex will be getting a spoiler card
Nice.
for Everfest, and we're getting a day one spoiler card.
Ooh.
So I haven't found out what it is, but the fact that it's day one, I'm pretty excited about it, because
That's nice.
day one is usually pretty exciting stuff. So we're excited about that. We're excited for Everfest. But yeah, other than that, you can find me on Red Zone Rogue, on DM Armada.
Yeah.
I'm just on everyone else's channels.
Yeah. Yeah, you should go check out Ian's stuff. He talks a lot about other card games too, other than Flesh and Blood, kind of like how I do here. Ian's been playing card games like forever, so yeah, there's that. So your spoiler card's on the Monday then, right? Because spoiler starts on the Monday. Cool.
Yeah.
Mine will be on Wednesday, I think. It's like the 26th or something like that.
It's kind of a super exciting weekend for us, because it's the Monday that we do our spoiler, but that weekend is New Zealand Nationals. So
Ooh,
Alan and I
nice.
will be down in person for New Zealand Nationals, checking it out, and hopefully doing some like sort of vlogging coverage and stuff from there. So it should be a good time. But yeah, no, it's starting to get exciting for FAB again, and I do want to. I've got next week. I'm going to be putting out a video that you guys should check out. And it's an answer to people thinking Flesh and Blood is too expensive to jump into. I am taking a challenge for 2022 to play FAB with no cards. I'm taking it's the $100 FAB challenge, where I'm taking $100 US currency. So converted here, it's about $140 start with no cards at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to go through how I'm going to invest, how I'm going to start making a deck, and everything that like as you'll see in the video. Basically, the idea is that from that one outlay, you can play for a whole year. You have to be smart about what you buy, how you play, and also what you sell. So like the rules are, I'm allowed to, anything I win in prizes or like play mats or cold foils or stuff like that, I can sell, that will generate money. And so basically it's the only investment is the initial $100, and then I'm going to see how far into the year I can play the game from no cards to whenever we finish, from just $100. cards.
Call it the Ragamuffins Challenge.
Maybe I will. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, Ragamuffins Challenge, and
Not
then
bad.
you can use that art on the thumbnails, and there you go. It's branding, man. It's branding. Anyway, thank you for coming on and talking about terrible Flesh and Blood cards. Here, I typically like to focus on like the fun and positive stuff, but sometimes it's fun to talk about the really crappy cards, because there's really crappy cards in every card game. It just happens. It just happens.
I mean, and part of the fun is to find ways to use them. I mean,
That's true.
That is often like, as I said, like I put Data Doll on my list, but I mean, I've played Data Doll. I've played a lot of Data Doll, and I had a lot of fun playing it, and a lot of disappointment playing it as well. But just because it's bad doesn't mean you can't use it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And we'll see you next time for some more Flesh and Blood content. Have a good one, all. We'll see you later.